Hi guys, welcome back to Medtastic Days. Today I'll take you through my day studying and trying to be productive. So it's been about a month since we've had the whole coronavirus situation and colleges kind of closed, not kind of, it's actually closed. So they tried to attempt doing online schooling, didn't really work, but they're doing it again and now it's working. So I have lectures now in the morning usually, and along with that I am doing my own schedule of studying and using multiple resources. And at this point in my life I'm really just trying to figure out what works best for me, because I still don't know yet. It's different for every subject and I can't really give a solid, stable, I guess, method. I think it's all about what works for you may not work for me. So it's really important to understand that difference in study styles. So typically how I study is I use a method of active recall, and what I do is I test myself through questions, and I use Anki for things that are very memory based that I tend to forget a lot. But before I do any of that, I think the main thing is getting an understanding of the concept, which is done through YouTube, my textbooks, reading and reading and reading. I don't take notes now, not as much. I used to before, but I felt like I was just summarizing and I wasn't taking effective notes, and it wasn't really working with me, and it was just very, very, very time consuming. So I came up with a new strategy, and now what I do is I basically try to understand the concept first by reading through the textbooks, going on YouTube, watching Dr. Najib, whether that's Kaplan, whether that's Dr. Najib, any resource I can use to understand the concept first. And then what I do is I write questions for myself, active recall questions that I can test myself on the next day, and I test myself the day after, and then maybe a week later, and then maybe 3 weeks later, and then a month later, and I keep reviewing each of these concepts. But what I do along with that is I'll put things on Anki that I tend to forget a lot, and I'll make like a cheat sheet of all the things I've learned, and that's really helpful. So the other thing I do, or the other methods I use to really be productive, is to make a daily schedule. I'll make a week schedule and then a day schedule, to typically, let myself know where I am currently and how I'm going to achieve my goals. And I usually set a deadline for, let's say, a certain module. So I'm trying to finish blood module before the end of April, or by the end of April. And then I set weekly goals, and I set daily goals, and I basically make a schedule for it. It usually never goes as planned. I usually put too many things on my schedule that I can't finish, and I can't make the time for that, and I usually get very, very, very distracted very easily throughout the day when everybody's having fun. It's really distracting when you're doing this all with a family, because there can be a lot of disturbances and sometimes you get off track, but that's fine because you can always get back on track and keep trying again and again and again and again, and eventually what matters is consistency. You keep trying and you'll eventually build a habit. The other thing I'm trying to work on is my mindset, my lifestyle. So whenever I feel like I'm not really getting much exercise, I'll take a break and I'll exercise instead of continuing my studying. And also, another tip on the side, I've started this new method that I learned. One of them is active recall, which I told you guys about, but the other method I'm using is Pomodoros. So Pomodoros are like 25-minute sessions where it's basically extreme focus work. So when I need to get it done, a lot of reading, I usually do it in Pomodoros, and when I need to understand concepts that are difficult, I do it in Pomodoros now. It's basically you keep a timer on for 25 minutes and a task to complete. And basically you try to complete that task in 25 minutes, then a 5-minute break, and then another Pomodoro. And in that 5 minute, you're not on Instagram or social media. You actually go out, make yourself some tea, exercise, do something else, stretch, get your mind a little bit away from the studying, and then you get back into it. So initially what you do is you decide how much time this task is going to take in total. For example, one chapter might take you 4 hours to complete, so you do it in Pomodoros, 25-minute intervals, and you could try to get as much work done as possible, and I feel like it's very efficient and effective, where I'm not just staying there and I'm not like dragging myself through the whole session. I'm actually proactively working, and I feel like I save more time. I don't waste more time in that because it's just 25 minutes and I just have to focus for this 25 minutes, and then after that my attention span naturally it just drifts off. So then I take a break. Sometimes I take longer breaks, sometimes I take shorter breaks, sometimes I don't take breaks, which is really bad. So it's really just a practice at this point, where I'm just trying to figure out what's working and what's not working. And then the other thing I do is, there's a lot of helpful resources out there with online tests, and just any method you could use to recall that information and test yourself is very important. And the other thing I try to do is I try to communicate with some of my friends to set up some study sessions through online video call or anything of that sort, and that way we just keep our communication open, and it's fun studying with another person, and you also get a lot of information that you don't actually know. And so group studies are definitely amazing, but you shouldn't do them on concepts you haven't learned. So you should always learn the concept first, and then ask yourself some questions that are confusing you, and then pose them in your study group. And your study group should not be more than 5 people in total. So keep the numbers low, because you do want to make it study focused. And I think that's about it. I don't have much more to say, but thank you for joining in.